Good morning. Hi. How's everybody doing? Great. So we are here to talk about digital inclusion, but more specifically within the African Nova Scotian community. My name is Otni Chinenere, and I am founder of Taura Communications, and I will be moderating this lovely panel today. So we have a few folks in person, and then we have a few folks who are online. It's going to be a very engaging conversation. So let's get started. Hello, hello. So just for us to kind of get to know who we are talking about, I would love just a good, short and sweet, because we want to make sure we get into the meat of the conversation introduction. I'll start with people who are here in person, and then panelists online. We will come to you. So I have with me here Jahsara and Kayla. We'll start with you, Jahsara. Who is Jahsara?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Jahsara Gardner. I am the manager of a charitable youth initiative called Businesses Jammin, where we empower Black and racially visible youth to pursue their goals in education and in entrepreneurship. We work with young people between the ages of 8 and 35 years old, which is a huge range, but we do that through a variation of educational, social, mentorship, and financial support programs, all in contribution to a much stronger and more sustainable Black business economy across the Atlantic provinces.
Amazing. So we're dealing with youth here. Kayla, what about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kayla Borden. I work with Unity Charity. Unity Charity is, I call it a hip hop collective, and we provide free hip hop workshops for youth across Canada. And I'm one of the program coordinators here in Halifax. And we also work with youth from ages 12 to 29 and kind of up above that as well.
I always love hearing these age ranges of youth going all the way up to 39 because it really makes me feel good. I can't lie. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kayla. We're going to come online now, and let's start with Crystal. Crystal, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Crystal States. I'm a program administration officer with African Nova Scotian Affairs. My office is located in New Glasgow, but I cover the northeastern region of Nova Scotia, which encompasses Pictou County, Antigonish, Guysborough counties, including Mulgrave and Canso. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. Conrad, we got to let the ladies go first. Brenda, please go ahead.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Brenda Francis Jarvis. I'm interim executive director for the Jordantown-Acaciaville-Conway Betterment Association's Center of Excellence. The center is new. We're about to do a grand opening at the end of November. Programming based in education, culture, and technology. The center is here as a result of a class action lawsuit with Department of Ed, NSTU, and the Regional Education Center. One of the aspects of this center is to provide, as I said, education and training support, and will focus on technology and digital information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. A worthwhile introduction, and really the reason why we're here, digital inclusion, technology. So really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, last but not least, Conrad.
Good morning. Okay, so I'm Conrad, last, least, and lively. So that all works. Yeah, I work with the Black Educators Association with adult education. I've been doing it for several years, but I also work with youth, all ages. And technology has been something that I've been involved with, since I've been a child. It's always intrigued me, and I like to learn and I like to teach. So it all works together. So I thank you for having me on your panel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Conrad. So we're going to dive right into the discussion here, and I just want to I'm not gonna let you rest now, Conrad. We're gonna let you take the lead here, and I'll ask you the initial question. So from your perspective, how does digital inclusion or exclusion impact African Nova Scotian communities and people of the African Nova Scotian community?
Okay, so first of all, there are three stages that we're dealing with right now. It's the pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we did realize there were some digital skills gaps and accessibility to technology. The COVID actually exposed it all. And now the gap has deepened and it has grown wider, although there have been a lot of services that have gone into the community, especially through organizations such as Geo Nova Scotia, which we partner with. So we're very happy to have that. But the digital gap or the digital inclusion or exclusion, it just reinforces the systemic barriers that are already in place. And because without digital skills, you're not able to access the opportunities that are out there. And as we see that most applications are going online now. The way that we make appointments for our doctors, they're online now. And so because of those things, everybody has to be have a device and know how to use a device. Also, it limits our access to the services, and in a lot of cases, people in communities don't know what's going on because a lot of the information is posted online. So if they don't have access to devices and technology, they're not getting the information. So, and lastly, it's the intergenerational learning. If families are not connected online to know what their students, what their children are doing in school, there are gaps there, so they don't know what's going on. Some homes they don't have the accessibility for their own children for schools. So those are the key areas that I look at, and of course, it's not just having devices, but it's learning how to use those devices and also keeping up to date. So that would be my
That's
short
an
answer.
awesome. Thank you so much, Conrad. That's an awesome take. I really like just bringing to light, the things that we have actually gone through as a collective, talking about COVID, pre-COVID, and even post-COVID. I want to bring the conversation back into the room and ask you, Jahsara, from your perspective, working in the field that you're working, what would you think the impact is with the inclusion or exclusion of tech digital within the African Nova Scotian community?
Yeah, I actually really love and appreciate that Conrad brought up the exclusion factor, although the discussion here today is about digital inclusion. It's easy to become excited about the opportunities that are out there now and what's to come, but I really do think that the focus should be on what the barriers are when it comes to the African Nova Scotian communities and digital inclusion, which I think really comes back down to the systemic economic withdrawal that we have in the community. And I really think from a youth perspective and a career readiness perspective, since that's where the brunt of my work falls, we risk our youth being left behind in a world that we know is moving so forward and so fast. Just a personal anecdote, my teenage niece, a few months back was looking for a job for the summer, and she was doing it old school fashioned with her printed resume, going business to business, and she was being turned away because, like Conrad mentioned, everything now from employment to educational opportunities to securing mentorship opportunities, it's all done online. And I think we have to be careful when we're thinking about closing gaps and how we're creating new gaps in doing so. So I think, yeah, that's my perspective in the youth category. I can speak specifically to a program that we had offered a few months back in March, which was our Pixelpreneurs March Break Camp. This was the first time that we had intentionally put digital inclusion into our programming, making it the focal point, really wanting to develop our youth skills in that factor. And we saw new levels of engagement from our youth, so they're excited. I think just in the digital world that we're living in now, there's so much potential, and the youth see that and they know that, and they want to get hands-on, they want to learn these skills. And it's exciting because we saw firsthand how digital inclusion ties in directly to their empowerment, their confidence, their entrepreneurial skills, their economic development, which really is the underlying factor here. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you touch just a little, I'm really intrigued by that. Can you touch just a little bit on what exactly that particular program or camp, like what was the layout of it, and what were they able to experience for them to experience digital inclusion?
For sure, yeah. For some context, we had our campers for a week span, and this was a program that we actually partnered with Geo Nova Scotia on. So we were able to provide our campers with tablets, creative tools, photography software, and they got to create their own personalized digital print products in which they sold at our end-of-week youth market at Scotia Square. They collectively made over $800 in an hour, so you can imagine the excitement during that day. Yeah. So we saw, even following the event itself, there's just so much more curiosity about our programming and where it's going and how it's evolving. So we're excited to incorporate a little bit more digital literacy in our programs moving forward.
That's amazing. I really love that. That's really, really cool. And just to even experience what they were experiencing, to have their minds open up in such kind of a way. I'm going to turn it back to virtual as we are at a digital inclusion conference. So, Crystal, what say you about your perspective on the inclusion of the digital world within the African Nova Scotian community?
Well, also to echo what Conrad had opened with, up until 2020, 2020, and just the start of the pandemic, like I had no idea of the huge digital divide within the African Nova Scotian community. I just took for granted that everyone had access to technology and everyone had, internet. I just assumed that. It wasn't until the pandemic and we were on lockdown, I said, "Oh wow, this is not good." And so we, one of the communities, had the opportunity to be part of a program through Hawk to trying to close that digital divide, that gap. And so we offered at least 30 or so, somewhere around there, tablets to disenfranchised families within the community, so that they could stay in contact with their family, online banking, FaceTime, attend a church service, virtual church service, things like that. And that was just a start of it, but then also, so it was one thing to give the tablet, give the technology. Okay, so now where's the internet service? So then it was, looking to try to find, other programs that would augment individuals' home internet or phone or internet service. So, but now one of the things, and then, so one of the other things that I noticed too, and even still moving forward, like 5 years later, our seniors, they're being forced, apply online. Okay, apply online. Well, even with the tablet, or with with a cell phone. It's very hard to navigate any government programs. It's impossible. So even with their even individuals again that have even if they have a laptop, they have technology, they still find it difficult to navigate those forms. So and things like the seniors applying for the seniors care grants, most often they have to come into either my office or the constituency office to have those forms filled out. Even the ones that are semi, tech savvy, they struggle with it. So you can imagine, the other individuals that don't have any service. And I think earlier in one of the sessions earlier this morning, that fear of the unknown. Are people still, even like I have the younger seniors, like, they haven't reached, or just, with the 65 or something like that. Even that, they still struggle with it, which means that there needs to be more training. We have there's training available in our local at our local library, but then again, that's time. There's only scheduled times, and that's only if your schedule will allow you to get into that small part. But one of the interesting things, I'm not sure what her name is, the lady in the middle. She was talking about the wonderful programs that they have for students through Business Jamming. But my question is, does that go outside of HRM? Is that opportunity offered to children in the rural? Because the farther you go, the farther away you are, rural, outside HRM, the resources are limited. The opportunities are, well, okay, I'll just say limited. So that it poses a huge problem. And in addition to even having stable cellular service. So I'm going to stop there.
Thank you so much, Crystal. What good points. What I'm hearing here, folks, is the opportunity and the availability of the resources of digital tech are very much so available. But even with the case of them being available, there's that aspect of now the knowledge of, the training of, right? The understanding of how to use these particular resources that are available as well. Kayla, what say you? Hip hop workshops, that's so interesting to me. Tell us a little bit about your perspective, but I also would like to hear, in your world, what does that look like to kind of the importance of having digital and tech?
I mean, a lot of folks have already touched on a lot of things that I was gonna bring up. But, I see how technology has been changing over time. And, everything is supposed to be available to you on your fingertips, from your phone, from your laptop. But not everybody wants to do that. So how do we keep people, I guess, up to par with how the world is changing within technology, especially when seniors don't understand that? And I see that for me personally, working with family members and friends that you're trying to say, you got to do this online. And they're like, no, I don't want to do it online. Or you do it for me. And then you try to show them how to do it. And they still want you to do it, right? So I feel like just the impact of digital inclusion, it's like sometimes you don't know where to go with that. All you can try to do is show them how to do it or do it for them. But when it comes to youth, I feel like they're excited to learn more, wanting to know or have more resources to be able to do the things that they want to do, especially with the program we run through Unity Charity called The Source. So it's a virtual and in-person program, which we run for 8 weeks. And specifically, we target African Nova Scotian and Black communities. More so, it's supposed to be rural, but we get a lot of HRM because we are in the HRM. So for me, it's a matter of being in the communities to be able to give them a little bit of understanding of like what the programming is. I feel like just doing it virtual is not really doing the thing. Like you have to be in the communities doing the thing.
That's amazing, and that's, I guess, another like resounding thing. So heads put together, folks. What do we do about the aspect of the availability of these resources being in a particular place and not being in the other areas, such as the rural? Thank you so much for your points, Brenda. I'm going to come to you, but just after you give me your perspective on the issue of inclusion and exclusion within the digital and tech world, I also would then want you to talk to me about what opportunities do you see for the African Nova Scotian community within the digital space as well as within the technological space.
Thank you. Well, the African Nova Scotian community in Digby carries generations of strength, history, and resilience, yet continues to face systemic inequities that have now extended into the digital age. Limited internet access and high service cost in rural communities means families struggle to get online, number one. So they struggle with online learning, remote work, and even telehealth. This digital gap isolates the community, reduces access to opportunities, and silences the voices that should be heard. So from Digby's African Nova Scotian residents, digital inclusion isn't just about technology, it's about economic empowerment. It's about education. It's about cultural preservation. Reliable internet and digital literacy training would allow youth access to modern careers, elders to connect with services, supports and families, and community members to share their stories on their own terms. So moving forward, we need community-driven solutions. We need affordable broadband, youth tech mentorship programs, and support for digital storytelling that honors our Black legacy. Digital inclusion is a modern liberation. It ensures that the next generation can stay rooted in community while thriving in a connected world. And that is a major issue in the African Nova Scotian communities in this region. It's getting youth and adults to stay in community. So we lose valuable resources, and we struggle around having individuals who are trained for various jobs and employment positions. They leave because of employment reasons. But then again, that's another issue in this area where Blacks aren't hired in positions, even that they're qualified for here. The cost of internet in rural communities is substantially higher than those in larger areas. My daughter lives in Dartmouth, and what she pays is probably half of what I pay for internet services here. So when you have high rate of unemployment and limited financial supports, paying well over $100 for internet service a month is not feasible for a lot of individuals. And we also in a lot of our communities, and not just rural communities, but it's probably more prevalent in the smaller communities, is infrastructural racism. And I'm thinking of a situation last spring, where the Jordantown community was without power for 5 days for what I would consider, a general windstorm. So, and it's because of the infrastructure and inability to support. So when we're talking about issues around technology and, access, we need to look at those other pieces as well. Sorry.
Do not
I'm
apologize,
gonna stop
Brenda.
there.
Absolutely. Do not apologize, because these are actually valid points, and thank you so much for bringing them to light. And you did touch on it a little bit there, where then what would be the opportunities that we can see, that promising opportunities that we can see for the African Nova Scotian community related to digital inclusion? And on that, Conrad, let me bring you in. I love how you said that you have been intrigued with technology and digital since you were young. We're going to have to figure out what to do about those earphones to get you on some wireless Bluetooth something, just so that it's up to par with what we're talking about. But Conrad, tell me what you think about the promising opportunities to Nova Scotia related to digital inclusion, to African Nova Scotian people, families, and the community at large.
Okay, so there are several opportunities out there, which has grown from COVID. There are several digital storytelling initiatives around the province now, and they're started in little small groups and communities, usually through the churches. And so those are all good because they're a way of using technology to preserve history. Also, they're used to learn digital skills. The other opportunities, I believe that big business and government should be more involved, or no, not that they should be more involved. They should include African Nova Scotians within their decision making when they're talking about expanding broadband, when they're talking about increasing the digital services within a community. Usually most times we're not there, and so our voice is not heard, and so that has to be included in it. It's hard to bring people in when decisions have already been made, and then you find out about the gaps. We have to be involved in the process. And also, the programs in the community, such as what the BEA is doing, and the other organizations as well. We do digital skill training, and not only that, we provide adults 18 and up with Chromebooks for their own use. They take with them, and so that's helping families. It's also helping families get involved. So there are opportunities, but I will say that there's so much to do right now because the fact that technology evolves so quickly. Just jump into a car nowadays and you've got this big screen in front of you, and you're trying to keep your attention on the road, but then you're trying to put your heater on, you're trying to do all these things. And so technology is evolving, and so because it's evolving, it means that we're going to have to continually learn, and there has to be more standards in places so that those changes are done over a longer period of time, not just happen over so quickly. So I'll end it on that.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Conrad. So kind of have like that consistent availability of whether it's training or involvement thereof of digital inclusion, technology, and the knowledge of it. Jahsara, I'll bring it to you in terms of like the opportunities. But what I want to do is also leave some time for questions. I do know we have maybe some questions within the audience. I do know we have a chat running as well. I want to make sure to give opportunity with that. But what say you about the promising opportunities that you believe are available or are already in place?
Yeah, I think that there is a ton of opportunity in the digital world, starting with investments into access and infrastructure, which I think Geo Nova Scotia is already doing an amazing job at, just ensuring that our African Nova Scotian communities, our rural communities, have access to affordable internet connection and devices is one. I think two, investing in programs that are teaching these digital literacy skills, especially from a cultural competency perspective. I think that it's important that our African Nova Scotian youth see themselves in the content and in the leaders as well. I think organizations like Businesses Jammin that are student or youth-focused, Black-centered, continue to partner with tech companies and with post-secondary institutions and funders in order to broaden our digital literacy offerings. And then obviously keeping this conversation going, because digital inclusion is not a one-time effort. It really is an ongoing commitment to ensuring that every generation in the African Nova Scotian communities are prepared for success in this new tech-driven world. And then I want to speak really, really quickly about what's already happening that I see through our African Nova Scotian business leaders and how they're already utilizing these tools and platforms in order to preserve their histories, to culturally storytell, to promote their businesses. And we see a lot of them creating these community-driven online presences as well. And I just want to highlight that and speak to that, because I think representation, we know, is so important. And they are the role models for the youth that are online now. So, yeah.
That's good, because if you can envision it or see it, then you are able to do it. Thank you so much for that, Jahsara. I'm going to open up the floor with the few minutes that we have here. Do I have any questions on the chat? If you may let me know. And here within the audience, I will open up the floor to you all. And please go ahead and ask questions to our panelists, or even any contribution, really and truly. Yes, here we go.
Good morning. Thank you so much, all of you. My question isn't fully formed out, so please bear with me. I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible. But I work in research and community engagement. And how do I put this? Well-intentioned folks, such as myself, being like, we want your voices, please contribute. And then the like, hey, I have contributed and I'm really tired and I don't want to. I know that is a stumbling block that I will be facing, et cetera. And so just, if you have the benevolence and the patience to just be like, hey, here's what good looks like. This is what, if you are going to be reaching out to us and asking for our time, this is how I want you to show up. And so please don't do this. Like, if you're going to be like asking for my time, don't do this. So some practical suggestions as to, if I'm asking for, say in our research recruitment, if I'm asking for the input of, African Nova Scotians and for Black people in this province, how do I do that right? And just to check any assumptions that I might already be carrying. Thank you.
Anyone want to go for this one?
I can say something to this. I guess it depends on the approach. People are saying that they're tired. Like, what are you offering the people that you're reaching out to for their time to give back the feedback, right? Because time is money. People are always looking like, they need money to do these things, and if they're taking time out to come and give you the information you need, they need some type of compensation for that. Also, I feel like I wrote it down here. Just like having data, I feel like more data should be shared with organizations in regards to African, Nova Scotian, and Black communities. I know that we've been asking for that data to be shared, even shared with us. So I feel like that also will help organizations as well.
Anyone online? Crystal, Brenda, would you like to answer the question by any chance? Could they hear me? I don't think so, sorry. Just wondering if either Brenda or Crystal, did you have any contribution to kind of answering the question from our audience? If not, that's totally okay. We can move on to the next question. I can't see the questions, but if they're there, just let me know, folks, online, in terms of online. Oh, we can.
Sorry, we didn't hear the question. Sorry.
Okay. I think because out of the respect of time, we'll kind of move to the next question and make sure you folks hear it, because I definitely want to make sure your opinions are shared here. Any other questions online, in person? I have one at the back there.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say hello to Conrad. It's Mary from Ansclo. I also just was really happy to hear you talk about community, because when we, especially for the older population, it's something that is continual. How do we preserve our history and move forward at the same time? So I think that would be really great for all of us to start thinking about, is how to use technology to do that. And the other thing that Conrad had said was about the continual learning. So with our community learning organizations, were maxed out with just giving people the basic skills, but as I think many people said here earlier, technology is changing quicker than we are. So the investment in continual learning is really important. And bridging generations. I love to hear youth and seniors coming together. I think that's going to change and build relationships as well. So thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the, statement. Yeah, that's very valid, and I like how that actually tied into even what Kayla mentioned with the sharing as well of data. So it also just brings together even the previous question of that preserving of the history. That helps when it also is in some shape or form distributed with the organizations, out there really wanting to see how best to kind of like connect with the various communities. Any other question? All right here. I'm sorry, folks online. If there's any question, maybe if you can let me know through the chats and stuff, so that I'm not missing a lot of people. But we do have a question in-house here.
Hi. Kayla, I think you mentioned something earlier about one of the barriers is lack of desire to actually improve digital skills, and just like a lack of interest in actually moving in that direction, which I can totally understand. But as many services are moving exclusively online, it's kind of not an option sometimes. And so how do you approach that? Are you approaching it from a perspective of trying to make it an easier pill to swallow, or perhaps move some of these exclusively digital offerings into an analog space, or how do you work with this?
It's not easy, I guess, just doing it for my parents or elderly people, because I feel like, they're just not grasping that it's moving that way. And I guess when you're stuck in your way or stuck to what it used to be, you're not going to change. So it's hard to try to pull them to something that they don't want to do. I don't know if that answers your question.
That's very good. Wondering if Crystal, you have any thoughts on how to basically help those who do not have the desire to learn or be trained on the new age digital and technology world?
I think you just keep trying. You keep trying. And I have individuals, even within my own family, that there's that fear of the unknown, or I'm going to break the laptop, or I'm going to break the tablet. So you can't break it unless you're going to smack. You cannot break it, right? So again, it's just continuing, just keep moving, keep moving. Ensuring that there's still training programs. One of the again, we could go back to the pandemic. We learned a lot of lessons from the pandemic, where you had programs where you paired the youth with the seniors or family members, pairing them. You know, the youth have it on technology. They, as soon as it's something new, they're there. It takes us longer, but the younger ones, they have it. So even to have those, to provide those opportunities for community members, primarily our seniors, with pairing them again with the youth, going back to that program. Sometimes we do something once and we said, okay, that's it. We did that. Let's move on. Sometimes you need to go back, and be several times. You need to go back until you close that gap in. It's just like, learning to tie your lace. You didn't learn to tie your lace on the first try. It was practice, 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 and that's what we need to do with our people that are afraid of the technology, or for whatever reason. We just need to keep going back, continuing until we close that gap.
Yeah, and I think, thank you so much for that, Crystal. And I think another thing to understand, and I like that analogy that you brought of like tying the laces. Not all of you tie your shoelaces the same. Right now, if I ask 3 of you to come up here, I'm going to learn a new technique. I just know it. However, I just coming from a perspective of being a communications specialist, the thing is we all relate to things differently. And if we go in with one message that is digital and tech to everybody the same way, understand who you're speaking to first. So those who are in these positions to do the training, to give people these chances to have the knowledge of technology, just know that you are approaching grandma, or you are approaching, little Miss Gen Z. They're going to take it differently. So I think it's really just the approach in the communication of it toward the various demographics that we are trying to help and trying to put on. So I really like the aspect of like, are you making the pill swallowable? That's totally fine, but it's just really understanding then how do we make these programs to fit certain demographics that we are providing these courses and programs to. Okay, all right. I think we have room for just one more question, but I do want to remind you folks that after each session, I'll come to you. After each session, please make sure to scan the QR code in this digital world that we are living in, and go ahead, because there you have a chance to, of course, give us feedback, because we need it. We need to know what we can do better for these conferences, but that is where also you enter yourself into getting a door prize. We love a good door prize moment, right? So make sure to do so after the session. Okay, last question here.
Thank you. For one, I'd like to recognize and say how much I appreciate the fact that it's 5 women on this panel, because across the country we still see this space being predominantly led by men, and white men at that. So thank you to the organizers for putting this perspective in front of us. So my parents are seniors, and my father won't go online even to get a check mailed to him, because he doesn't trust the system. He doesn't want government knowing any more about what his business is. And I can imagine that distrust of systems and how information could possibly be weaponized would be even more critically felt in the African Nova Scotia population. I'm wondering if sometimes the lack of uptake isn't just about a lack of will, but an intentional decision. And I'm wondering if you could maybe speak on that.
Online, any takers? Did you hear the question? A little bit similar. Conrad, did you have any feedback for that?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things, in the issue in the African Nova Scotia community, Gender always plays a role, but one of the things is that the people whom I service, I would say 75% are of the female gender. And and we don't get caught up in the gender roles. We really don't. People are people, and we don't cause that divide. And when one suffers in the community, we all suffer. So I will say this is that one of the things we got to remove the fear of technology. If we keep on talking about technology from the point of that it's this pinnacle of things, it's really not. Technology, maybe 500 years ago was a book. Technology 700 years ago was a stick that you carved something in the ground. So technology has always been about finding easier ways of doing things. And so when I'm delivering the course, I always deliver it from the point of, I ask people, what do they do to make things simpler for them? And then you can integrate the technology into it so that technology doesn't come this boogie person as such. So that's one of the things we've got to do. And also government, because I heard it from one of the questioners. The government has to be more intentional with working within communities, so community are then prepared to offer the services to their own community, because that takes away the fear of it. And just to answer the question about the when you go in, you're collecting data and you get you get some pushback about the data. I think one of the key things is have African Nova Scotians on your team, so when you're taking the data, it'll seem less threatening, and people will generally are more comfortable when it's their own offering something.
Thank you so much. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much there, Conrad. What a good response, and just a way to figure out how to basically move forward. Ladies and gentlemen and folks, we have come to the end of this particular enriching session. Thank you so much to our panelists. A round of applause for them. And thank you to everyone online. Thank you so much to those in person for even engaging within the conversation. I'm very appreciative of it. And yes, this has been an awesome conversation, and we will move on to the next thing. And I have been your moderator, Otni Chinenere. Thank you guys so much.